This is how the horse-head fiddle was created. This is a Mongolian folk tale. There are approximately 1.5 million Mongolian people. Some of them live in Qinghai and Gansu provinces, but the majority reside in the Inner Mongolian Autonomous Area. In the past, their sovereign, a Khan, ruled over the people, who were mainly herdsmen or breeders of horses, cattle, and sheep. Wherever the animals roamed, the men would follow, living as nomads in yurts. When the caravan troops met each other, they would exchange tales. But long, solitary journeys from oasis to oasis was a lonely life, and to compensate they would sing and play music. Their favorite instrument, a fiddle with a horse head adorning the top and snakeskin over the sounding board, is known as a Tartar violin in China. How was the Mongolian fiddle, our most popular musical instrument, created? Why was it decorated with the head of a horse? This is a very sad story. There was once an orphan boy named Suho who lived in the Chahar district. His grandmother brought him up, and he helped her with the meals and other household chores besides taking the sheep to graze. They had a score of sheep, but that was all. When Suho came of age at 17, he was a lovable lad with a talent for singing. The neighboring herdsmen often gathered in the evening to hear his songs of the pasture land. One night, Suho failed to return. His grandmother and all the neighbors became quite worried as it grew late. The night was pitch black when Suho finally appeared with a small thing cradled in his arms. It was a pure white newborn foal. Seeing all the bewildered, anxious faces around him, Suho said, "I saw this little white thing alone and helpless on the roadside. There was no sign of the mare. I was so afraid the wolves would get him that I brought him with me." Suho gave loving care to the colt, and as time went by it grew strong and beautiful. Everyone who set eyes on it loved it, but, of course, it was especially dear to Suho. One night, Suho was awakened by persistent neighing. Getting up from his sleep, he rushed from the yurt. He could hear great confusion and bleating in the sheepfold. The white pony was defending the sheep from a large gray wolf. Suho drove the wolf away and turned to the pony. It must have been fighting for a long time. He could see it was exhausted and dripping with sweat. "Oh, you white pony, such a good fellow! You have saved the sheep," he said as he tenderly patted the horse and wiped down the sweat. He woke gently, as though addressing his dearest human friend. From that time on, the two were never separated, not even for a moment. One spring, the Khan announced that there would be a horse race and the winner would marry his daughter. The news spread over the pasture land, and Suho's friends urged him to join the race. On the day of the event, many strong, good-looking young men, dressed in their best, came riding on their steeds of varied colors. Suho had decided to compete and arrived with his snow-white pony. At a given signal, the horses were off, galloping with the speed of a whirlwind. But the white pony was the first to reach the winning post. "Call the rider of the white pony here," the Khan ordered from the viewing stand. When he saw that the winner was only a simple herdsman, there was no mention of marriage, and instead he said, "You will be given 3 big ingots of silver for your horse. You may go home." "What? Does he really think I'd part with my dearest companion?" Suho thought to himself in anger, but he answered curtly, "I have won the hand of your daughter. I have not come to sell my pony." "You rascal! How dare a poor herdsman talk to me like this? Seize him!" Suho was beaten unconscious and lay there until the crowds dispersed and friends came to take him away. The beautiful white pony was led away in triumph by the Khan. Suho was nursed back to health by his grandmother, and within a short time recovered completely. Some days later, when Suho was resting, he heard knocking and called out, "Who's there?" Nobody answered, but the knocking persisted, whereupon his grandmother went outside to see. "Oh, it's your white pony!" she called out in surprise. Suho dashed from the yurt. He was so happy to see his pony, but happiness turned to grief when he saw 7 or 8 arrows piercing the body of his dear pony. Gritting his teeth, Suho stifled his own cry of pain as he pulled out the arrows. Blood instantly streamed down from the wounded pony, who died the next day. What had happened? Well, the Khan was overjoyed that he had acquired the splendid white pony and gave a banquet to celebrate and exhibit the flying animal to his family and the nobles. When he tried to mount, the pony reared and threw him to the ground. Then it galloped at full speed through the circle of guests. "Catch it! If you can't catch it, kill it!" the infuriated Khan ordered. A shower of arrows rained on the helpless pony, but it managed to return to die near its own master. How sad and unhappy Suho was! He mourned for the loss of his pony day and night, and could not sleep or rest. One night as he lay tossing, he seemed to see the white pony as though alive. It came right up to him, and he fussed over it, caressing it tenderly. "Can't you think of a way for me to be with you always, dear master?" the pony asked, and after a while said, "Make a fiddle with my bones." The following morning, Suho carved a likeness of his beloved pony's head from its bones and used it for the upper part of the fiddle. He used its tendons for strings and the hairs from its flowing tail for the bowstrings. Whenever Suho played on the horse-head fiddle, the memory of his dearest friend came back to him. His hatred for the Khan increased as he recalled the unfair treatment. These thoughts went into his music and echoed all the desires and emotions of the herdsman. Every night after work, people flocked to hear him play. Listening, they would forget their weariness of the day. And that is the end of how the horse-head fiddle was created.